Today we have with us John Christopher Depp II, better known by his huge fan base as Johnny Depp. Thanks for being here with us today, Johnny.
Let's begin with talking a little bit about your childhood. Being born in Owensboro, Kentucky, did you ever feel expected to have a certain level of respect for your elders, especially since the town you were born in was so small?
Well, I lived in Owensboro up until I was 7, but I always respected my parents, especially my mom. My parents didn't have conventional jobs. My mom was a waitress, and my dad a civil engineer, so we always moved around to accommodate for his work. My parents' work ethic was a lot to look up to.
It says here that you and your family lived in motels after your grandfather's death, until your dad found stable work at the age of 15. Do you feel this portion of your life still affects you today?
Yeah, every time I go to pack for a new movie, it triggers old memories of moving. I felt an era of instability and uncertainty, which brought out my wild side. I felt weird as a kid, who at times wanted to be Daniel Boone to Bruce Lee.
Your grandfather's death must have had an impact on you, especially since he died when you were at such a young age.
Yeah, my grandfather and I were completely inseparable. He owned a tobacco farm, so that's where I heard a lot of the stories he would tell me, along with helping pick the tobacco. But after he died, things changed. We moved to Florida, where I just felt lost.
In regards to being creative, do you feel that the other kids at your school weren't accepting of how you viewed things?
Absolutely. I was a definite outsider in my high school, that was not tolerated. But I had my guitar as a sort of escape from the conventions of my high school. But that did not mean that did not influence me to be a troublemaker. My teachers hated me, so I gave them a reason to. I played the troublemaker role probably a little too well.
So, would you consider yourself a creative problem finder?
I guess. My teachers definitely wouldn't phrase it that way. But there were moments where I would just come up with the craziest, sometimes stupid ideas just to entertain myself, which would then get me into trouble.
In the past, you've made it known to the public eye that you enjoy drinking. And of course, a lot of your roles tend to have a focus on drugs and alcohol as a part of that character's lifestyle. Do you believe drinking and using drugs influences one's creativity?
Well, I drink for many reasons. One being that I enjoy it, and in past occasions I do it not to feel anything. I think it has less to do with recreation and more to do with the fact that we need to escape from our brains.
So your attitude appears that you don't like to stick to the social norms that society has. Would you consider yourself a nonconformist?
I like to say, just keep moving forward, and don't give a shit about what anybody thinks. Do what you have to do for you. No, but seriously, I can't come up with things in a crowd of hanging out with a bunch of people. Solitude allows moments of creativity, and some of my characters were actually born in extreme circumstances in the heat of the song.
Would it disappoint you if a movie was not well received from an audience?
Yeah, some more than others.
Can you name one, for example?
The Brave, which I did with Marlon Brando. I wish he could have been given a chance to be seen in the U.S. I put a lot of myself into that movie. It was a way for me to connect with my Native American roots and give a nod to my great-grandmother, who was 100% Native American.
Did you gain any insight after your first couple of movies?
From all the movies, I try to walk away with something away from it. When I first started out, I landed in a spot on a television show, 21 Jump Street. That led me to realize what kind of actor I wanted to be, or really the kind that I didn't want them to make me.
What did you want them not to make you?
I didn't want to be a teen idol or a heartthrob. Apparently people found my face very marketable to young teens, and since I was on a successful TV show at the time, they wanted to make as much off of me as they could. I did not want that. I did not want to be labeled or sold.
What about after that? What led you to choose certain roles and projects after 21 Jump Street in your previous movies?
Intuition, I guess. I had experience on 21 Jump Street, which I am grateful for. But I wasn't looking to be cast in huge blockbusters. I was looking to be in something that had meaning to me. Even if it meant I was in the background, I always based a lot of my decisions on intuition. Even when I was younger, I would act before thinking. If something felt right to me, I just did it. not really caring how well or poorly it would turn out in the public eye.
Are you confident with all of the characters you've done so far?
Well, first with Captain Jack Sparrow for Pirates of the Caribbean, I kept thinking I was going to get fired because of how I portrayed the pirate in a non-traditional way. I think I made the production staff a little nervous with that. But people want what they want, and they received Captain Jack better than I ever thought possible. So life's pretty good, and why wouldn't it be? I'm a pirate after all.
You talked about using intuition with your approach in acting. Do you instill that same thought process with parenting?
Yes. Being with my kids and their mother is very important. I want them to know that they can express the same openness, and hopefully I teach them that sometimes it's good to go with your gut feeling.
Speaking of family, how do your kids handle your movie star lifestyle?
They don't really care a lot of the times. They've told me to stop with my character voices and just talk normal. So as they get older, they realize there is a difference. But it's never really discussed unless they're really curious about one of the characters that I'm working on. But like I said, they don't really care how I am seen by the public eye because to them, I'm just Dad, not Johnny Depp. The fact that they don't really care is something I'm really grateful for.
Alright, now can I ask you where you draw inspirations from?
I've always been influenced by music, especially Keith Richards, whom I based Captain Jack around. Along with him, they're the motivation and inspiration around a lot of my work. But I try constantly to learn and grow from so many different aspects of my life. I never want to settle and get to complacency. To be satisfied is to stop growing. I'm just glad society is somewhat accepting of my unconventional ways of approaching certain characters.
Well, it's obvious that you've always been drawn to creative outlets. What other things would you like to attempt creatively?
Writing has always been an interest. I have played many writers in the past and love how many of them take different processes to create a different product.
What type of writer would you be?
Probably one that was locked in a room with a bottle of rum until I was very happy with my work. I am very introverted that way.
Okay, I just have one last question to ask you before we go.
Alright.
If there's anything you would want people to take away from your movies, what would it be?
If there's any message to my work, it is ultimately that it's okay to be different. That's good to be different. That we should question ourselves before we pass judgment on someone who looks different, behaves different, talks different, or is a different color.
Thanks for taking your time out to talk with us today, Johnny.